From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
And it's Friday. Can you believe it? Thank God. Here we go into another action-packed day, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom. Putting America first, discussing the things that others don't, covering the stories that you need, and also talking to you. Let's get rolling. There are three things we want to cover right now. The three big things. Number one, federal judges delivering decisions like the black robe makes them God. They're all over the place, but most are blocking the immigration enforcement at every turn. No surprise. Number two, the search for Nancy Guthrie has now hit day 13, and so far details have been thin. But with the release of that video a few days ago, there's a sense that investigators maybe they're getting closer to an answer. And number three, there is nothing more important to get past at this point than the SAVE Act. To make sure you're an American citizen, can prove that when you register, and then have a picture ID to vote. It's supported by wide margins, no matter who you are. Well, it is, unless you're a Democrat on Capitol Hill, at which point having ID is just an example of white supremacy or some other such nonsense. Requiring an ID to vote is just like having slaves on a plantation. It's Jim Crow 2.0. I mean, the lengths congressional Democrats will go to smear what every other nation on earth requires is actually jaw-dropping. In a very strange twist, more than 70% of Democrats support it. 80% of black voters, even higher numbers for Hispanics and Republican voters. It is widely and wildly popular, and yet every single Democrat has voted against it. As of right now, 49 Republican senators have agreed to support it. That means just one more is needed to get it passed, with a tiebreaker from the Vice President, J.D. Vance. Maybe John Fetterman will even do the right thing and join the Republicans. So here we go. It's Free Speech, Free for All Friday, powered by the Patriot Mobile Common Sense Hotline, 877-310-9966. 877-310-9966. It is your chance to weigh in on any topic at all. So let's light up the phones and get to it. But first, this. The SAVE Act, like I said, the most important legislation of my lifetime. That's not an exaggeration. Listen.
Your name. It's the Save America Act, and the Democrats are against it. I heard one of them say, we will stop the Save America Act. No, we're trying to save America. And it has to do with largely voting. And basically, it's got three very simple points. It's got voter ID, photo ID, but voter ID with a photo, right? It's got the confirmation of U.S. citizenship. You have to be a citizen. So you have a vote, you have an ID. That's about a 99% one, and I think 90% with Democrats. Then you have confirmation U.S. citizenship. That's about a 99% one with Republicans, about 86% with Democrats, except Democrat politicians because they cheat on elections. And then you have no mail-in ballots. And there would be no mail-in ballots, very important. You know, we're the only country in the world that does a system like we do. We're the only country in the world that has mail-in ballots. The way we do this is unbelievable. It guarantees cheating. So it's no mail-in ballots with the exception of disability, illness, military, or if you're traveling, you can get an exemption. You know, if you happen to be out of the country for a good reason, you can have an exemption. So with exceptions, it's no mail-in ballots, and that will assure the security of our crooked elections. We have crooked elections, yeah.
There you have it. It is the single most important piece of legislation of my lifetime as more fraud is exposed in Georgia and elsewhere. It's pretty clear the system was gamed in 2020 and other elections too, 2020 becoming the one that gets the most attention. But look, this wasn't perfected in a single election cycle, that's for sure. Let's get to the phone lines, 877-310-9966. Patrick in Pennsylvania to start us off today. Patrick, good morning. What's on your mind?
Hey, good morning to you as well, and I just wanted to start off by saying happy early Valentine's Day to you and Ivy.
Well, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate that. We just marked our anniversary, too, so thank you.
Oh, well, happy anniversary.
Thank
well,
you.
the reason I'm calling, all right, so my family and I, we love Trump. We've been Trump supporters since he came down the Escalade.
All right.
Are you familiar with Patrick Bet-David and his podcast?
I am. Go ahead.
All right, well, because yesterday he had Alex Jones on, and they were talking about so Trump, he could do 9 great things, 9 awesome things, but if he does one bad thing, oh, he's the devil. Well, he has the opportunity, I guess, from what they were saying, Marjorie Taylor Greene and him had a fallout because he has a chance to take them all down. 90% of D.C. Democrats down. And if he doesn't do it, it's going to bite him in the butt in the midterms because, oh man, I don't even know
Patrick,
where to go.
I'm going to let you stop right there because you teed it up for me, son. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. And here's why. I've been listening to other commentators say, well, you know, Trump's losing the base. He's losing MAGA. He's losing because of Minneapolis. Let me understand this. Donald Trump has delivered on 90% of what he came into office to do. He has improved the economy, sealed the border, ended wars, created an opportunity for Americans. Inflation is down, jobs are up. We're bringing factories back to America. And I'm hearing, well, he's losing MAGA because he backed down in Minneapolis. Look, the optics in Minneapolis were bad. Whether you agree with it or not, they were bad, and they were not polling well. I've got friends of mine that are members of Congress, as you can imagine. These are Republicans, and they said their internal polling in safe red districts is terrible on what was going on with ICE. So, and this, I'm going to be very clear about this. If Donald Trump delivers on 90% of what he said he was going to do, and you're going to say, "Well, I'm mad. He backed down in Minneapolis. We dropped the hammer." You're never going to lose the 42 or 44% that is the bottom, the base, the real base for Donald Trump. But you are going to lose people in the middle. That 6 or 8% you've got to have to hold on to the House in the midterms. All right, and it really does not sit well with me that Donald Trump delivers on all these places. And they changed strategy in Minneapolis because they had to, because the mainstream media was eating them for lunch. And so were the Democrat lawmakers like Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and whoever else, eating them for lunch by putting out these pictures and selling this narrative, which too many people were buying. Oh, ISIS are these terrible people. What does the Bible say about a foundation, a house built on sand? If you're telling me that the base is running because of Minneapolis, and the base is abandoning Donald Trump, MAGA is so angry they're leaving because of Minneapolis, after everything that he's delivered, I would argue you didn't have much of a base at all. You had a house built on sand. Donald Trump is delivering across the board for this country, fighting for the SAVE Act, the Clarity Act, the one big beautiful bill that saves people piles of money and puts more money in their pockets with big tax returns. If you're leaving because you don't like what happened in Minneapolis, the problem is not with Donald Trump, it is with you. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Free speech, free for all Friday. Thank you, Patrick from Pennsylvania. You teed it up nicely, my friend. I'll be back after this. All Friday, 877-310-9966 is the Patriot Mobile Common Sense Hotline. Glad to have you on board today. Patrick kicked us off nicely. Let's go to Mike. He is in upstate New York. Mike, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Steve. How are you doing?
I'm well. What's on your mind?
Hey, I'd like to talk about my personal experiences with Chinese espionage, if that's possible.
You make it quick.
Okay, I was a librarian and an historian in upstate New York. Two of my colleagues were a couple of Chinese origin. One of them a physical chemist, and the other was a librarian with me. And both of them, every year for decades, every summer, they went back to China for a month, where they were feted, and they shared all of their knowledge and with a number of other Chinese colleagues. And we didn't realize that this was spying, but it was going on for decades. He, as I said, was a physical chemist. Had a great knowledge of ceramics and lasers and so forth. And she was instrumental in creating what's called an ILS system, an integrated library system. Librarians make knowledge available to the general public by organizing it, right?
Yep.
And they did this every year for decades. And now Donald Trump is going to let 600,000 more spies into the country.
Well, Mike, thank you for that call. We're just going to go right down this alley, too. It is one of the things that I disagree strongly with the president on. Allowing 600,000, 700,000 college kids, and the ones you're referring to may or may not be college kids. We've seen it right here at the University of Michigan, where we had a number of Chinese students arrested. One group, they're up at a place called Camp Grayling, the biggest training camp for National Guard members in the country, spying during military exercises between the United States and Taiwan. They were posing as journalists. They all got arrested, 5, and thrown out. A couple more were caught bringing in some sort of fungus into the United States, headed for Ann Arbor, Michigan. They were busted. That fungus, by the way, could have cut our corn crop, our wheat crop, and our other food grains in half if it had gotten into our population and into our agriculture. 700,000. And Donald Trump says, well, you know, universities will go broke. Let them. If your business plan is to rely on Chinese money to keep your doors open at whatever college or university you have, too bad, see you later. That's my opinion. No quarter. I do not believe we should let these folks in. Mike, I think you are spot on, and thank you for the phone call. Patrick is in Nevada today. I wonder what they're thinking down there. Patrick, how are you?
Yes, fine. Mr. Steve, the truth, Gruber, bigger than Rush Limbaugh. I have 2 items.
I don't know about that. Go on.
The first item is the mayor of New York City. You were 1,000,000% correct. He will be out of office in 1 year. He allowed 18 people to freeze to death because he pulled the police patrol off of the homeless unit. The homeless would have been notified, take shelter. It's going 10 degrees below zero. Instead, 18 of them freeze to death. Now, the second item I have is a big issue in my neighborhood in Nevada. We have chemical laboratories in residential houses because of our border czar, Kamala Harris, allowed all these Chinese military to cross the border, and there was 5 Chinese arrested.
Good call, Patrick.
They were 1 block from a water treatment
I appreciate
plant.
it. Thank you for the call. Here's the problem, and you, man, I've had 3 great callers in a row. Well done. These labs. We heard about one in California here a year or 2 ago. Remember that one? It was so filthy they had to go in with hazmat suits to sort out what was in there. They're finding other labs in places like Nevada, like Patrick says. Again, this is the same reason that I think that Donald Trump should just cancel all these student visas. If universities go out of business because they're relying on Chinese money, well, too bad. It's one of the big disagreements I have with the president. I agree with him on just about everything he's done policy-wise so far. And I do. But when I look at something like that, it's like that is a glaring problem. The infiltration of Chinese, and then the anchor babies from China. If you don't understand this, listen closely. There are more than 1 million Chinese babies that have been born in this country over the last 2 or 3 years, right? Born, so therefore, according to the Democrats, they are American citizens. Well, after they're born, they go back to China, where they live and grow up until they're 18 years of age, at which point they can come back to the United States as citizens, voters, people that can impact what we're doing here. That's a problem. This birthright citizenship has to go for a variety of reasons, and it's not because we're getting invaded from the South. That's one problem. But these Chinese sending people over here to send them back when they're 18 years old as adults might be a bigger problem. Let's go to Paul in Tennessee. Paul, how are you today?
Good morning, Steve. Did you catch Jamie Raskin's comment to the reporter this week?
He says a lot of stupid things. Which thing?
Well, the thing that made me mad was she asked him about the SAVE Act and the overwhelming support with it, and his comment straight back to her was, I don't let the peasants tell me how to vote.
Yeah, I didn't hear that, but I'm going to look it up and get it. That's the problem. They don't care.
In honor of Rush Limbaugh, I'm going to be absurd for a moment. I say we just stop testing people for driving exams altogether. No exam, no test drives. Just let them check a box and certify that I can drive and give them a driver's license.
Yeah, that'd be about right, wouldn't it? Paul, thank you for the call. Again, we're circling some problems here, but the fact of the matter is if this loses the MAGA base, you were no base at all. Vote for the right thing. Vote to protect this country. Vote to keep the House where it is. Let's go to Kevin in Arkansas. Kevin, welcome to the program.
Steve Gruber, I want to say a happy anniversary to you
Thank
and
you.
Miss Ivy. I want to give the Getter Gang, the Getter Chat, a shout out. And I'd like to point out a point of contention with the Senate. I don't understand why they're slow walk, dragging their feet about passing the Save America Act, and why we've only got 19 of 97 U.S. district judges through across the finish line.
That's
Donald
another
Trump
problem.
appointed.
I got to leave it there, Kevin. Thank you for the nice well wishes. You're right. The most important thing, though, is we have 49 Republican senators on board now. You've got McConnell and Collins, Murkowski, and maybe Tillis, who have not signed on yet. We need one more. Maybe John Fetterman comes across, and then you've got J.D. Vance as the tiebreaker. The SAVE Act, the most important thing in front of the Senate in my lifetime. I'll be right back. I will get right back to your phone calls in just a moment, but I want to tell you about something that's happening Monday. Monday at 9 a.m., Forgotten America, our brand new podcast, will drop at 9 a.m. on YouTube. The YouTube channel has been renamed just to Steve Gruber. It'll be me and Ivy in this program and this podcast, Forgotten America, plus some shorts we're coming with shortly that you're going to like about American history. I think it's going to be fun. My first guest on Monday is Kyle Rittenhouse. You remember him, of course. The shooting in Kenosha, he killed 2 people, wounded a third, was acquitted by a jury of his peers for defending himself. Says he never should have been there. Here's a preview.
Well, look, Steve, we both can agree that it was stupid. We can all agree that it was stupid for me to be down there. I was 17 years old. I had no business being at a riot. I should never have gone, but that does not take away my right to self-defense. The only thing I would have done different, if I would have known I was going to be violently attacked and maliciously prosecuted, I would never have gone there. I would have stayed at home, would have let the city burn down.
Yeah, there you have it. Kyle Rittenhouse back in the spotlight. Again, that's Monday morning at 9 a.m. Forgotten America drops on YouTube. Go there, become a subscriber, click the like button, and, do all the good things you do. Let's go back to the phone lines. Dan is in Tennessee. Dan, how are you today?
Yeah, good morning, Steve. Steve, there are 19 states in the United States that issue driver's license to illegal. Of those 19, 15 of them, when they register to get a license, they also register then to vote. It's illegal to vote in a federal election if you're an illegal alien. Yet 19 states do that. So what are we doing is we're allowing illegals who are non-citizens to vote, determine the fate of our country. And when they vote, what is my vote worth when it gets canceled out by an illegal? That's it. Thank you, Steve.
It's a great question. Look, and the question back would be this. What's more dangerous? What's more dangerous? And we've seen a number of these fatal accidents, most recently in Indiana, where those Amish men were killed when an illegal alien hit their van head on, killed 4 of them, I believe. What's more dangerous? The illegals having driver's licenses, these CDLs issued by states like Illinois, California, New York? Or is it more dangerous that they're voting? Which is more dangerous? Let that marinate for a minute and let me know. All right, don't forget, you can follow me on YouTube. I appreciate it when you do. Again, go there, subscribe, and like all of these stories, conversations, and Forgotten America, dropping 9 a.m. this coming Monday, episode number 1. I'll take a break and be back with your phone calls after this. All right, let's continue on now. Great chat, by the way, in places like YouTube and Getter and so forth. Join the conversations. You can chime in live. It's kind of fun. And there's some trolls. Always some trolls. They're just there for my personal entertainment. Let's go back to the phone lines. Joe is in Indiana. Joe, welcome to it. What's on your mind?
Good morning, Steve. First of all, I wanted to tell you do an excellent job. I look forward to your shows on Rev every day.
Thank you.
Secondly, I've noticed that when Republicans like Donald Trump take bold action, common sense action,
Yep.
they do really well in elections. We have these senators. We have the SAVE Act. It's a no-brainer. What could we do to get this across the finish line?
Yeah, I think you're going to get Susan Collins across because some changes were made. I heard an interview with Susan Collins from Maine, and here's the thing about somebody like Susan Collins. She's not a MAGA Republican. She's not a hardcore conservative, but she's the best you're going to get out of the state of Maine. Looks like she's probably going to win the election. So I think she comes across because, look, this is a wildly popular idea, Joe. When you look at the entire
I've noticed on social media. On social media, that's all people are talking about. How do we ring these senators' bell and say,
we only need one more. We've got 49 as co-sponsors right now. John Thune joined. So did some others. Dan Sullivan from Alaska joined yesterday. We need one more because then all you need is J.D. Vance, do the talking filibuster, get rid of this 60-vote filibuster, do the talking filibuster the way it's supposed to work, because the filibuster is a made-up thing anyway from the early 1970s. It's not constitutional. This whole idea that the minority party can hold the country hostage is BS. You're spot on, Joe.
Amen. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, my friend. He's exactly right. One more. I think Susan Collins might be the last. Could be John Fetterman. At least he gets it part of the time. All right, Tim is in Ohio. Tim, how are you?
Hey, Steve. How you doing?
Good. What's up?
President Trump isn't the problem. He's not going to lose his base. It's the Senate and the congressmen and the Justice Department. We haven't put anybody in jail, and the Senate, Thune is a joke.
I don't disagree with you. John Thune might want to go back to South Dakota and figure out where he left his balls, frankly. But at least he did join the SAVE Act as a co-sponsor. I'll give you that. But look, John Thune is a Bush Republican.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe, but he's not going to get rid of the filibuster like it is. He's going to leave it the way it is. So.
Well, we shouldn't, and I agree with you on that, Tim. The filibuster has to go. It has to, because if it doesn't go with this group of Republicans, it will go with the next group of Democrats if they get control of the Senate again. We'll see how that plays out. Let's go to Bia in Pennsylvania. Bia, how are you?
Good morning. I think I heard Wayne Allen Root suggest, and I believe this was the only way to clean up the voter rolls, is get rid of all the voter rolls. That means you and I and everybody else. And we would re-register and prove our citizenship through a birth certificate or passport. The problem, and many people have said it on this show this morning, the illegals have a photo ID, so they'll still be able to vote.
In many places, that's true, unfortunately, because... And great call, by the way, Bia. Whoever thought that the motor voter acts of the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, they were the big Trojan horse? I mean, I didn't pay much attention to it. All right, you go get your driver's license, they register you to vote. Never occurred to me. Never worried about it. That was a big problem. A big problem. Automatically giving people the right to vote, or the opportunity, not the right, the opportunity to vote, just by getting a driver's license. Trojan horse that came storming into our country. Here in Michigan, where I am, is George. George, how are you?
Good. How are you, Steve?
Good.
Great show.
Thank you. What's up?
Hey, I live in Michigan, and they put that battery plant in Marshall.
Yeah. Well, they're working on it.
Yeah. I got a lot of iron worker buddies that are working in that plant, and the people in that town are furious with that company. They've hired 500 electricians. They're all Chinese. They're all illegal aliens. They're all from different countries. And every day, my buddies go to work, and there's something. One day they went, and the whole parking lot was filled with roadkill that the townspeople
right. Well, I appreciate that.
Them with. And
they need to clean up the roads in Michigan.
They what?
They need to clean up the roads in Michigan. Good Lord, I counted over 200 dead deer on a short drive here a couple of weeks ago. Anyhow,
they're everywhere.
Yeah,
everywhere. But I just wonder what's going on. Why haven't I thought they got rid of all the foreigners working in these places, and
No, look.
It's supposed to be owned by
hold on.
Ford, but they got
That's
more
not
Chinese
possible.
people working
George,
than they do iron workers.
George, let's be sensible.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for the call. Let's be sensible here. And I heard Ronald Reagan say this is the best that I heard anybody say this. They said, well, why didn't you clean up all these messes? And he said, it reminds me of a time that Nancy and I bought a ranch. And they'd had these horses in there for years. And I had to go into the stalls, and I was in there picking and picking and picking. Day after day, week after week, to get these stalls cleaned up so we could put our horses in there. The point being is, you can't clean up after Joe Biden in a year, or probably 2 or 3 or 4. It takes time. Have some patience, folks. I mean, come on. I mean, that's why I say he didn't. I mean, Donald Trump has a lot of ability. He does not have a magic wand. Newsflash. He can't walk in and wave his magic wand and everything's fixed. He has to fight Congress. He has to fight these people who think they are God, wearing black robes known as judges. It's a lot of work. And you ought to thank your lucky stars that this guy's in there willing to do the work when he could be just sitting at Mar-a-Lago enjoying himself, all right? A lot of work to be done. We're getting there, folks. We've made a tremendous amount of progress in the first year. Let's hang in there, all right? Let's go to Dave in Arizona. Dave, how are you?
Amen to that, Steve. Well said, sir. So, yeah, I think we're at a tipping point. We might actually be past it. So the one thing I'd suggest, great calls too across the board. We need to reclaim our republic through our language. So maybe I could do a little bit of a vocabulary lesson today. So a lot of people in the news, the mainstream propaganda media, use the word migrants. Let's say what it is. They're illegal alien invaders, right?
That's right.
And then they talk about sex trafficking. And that's not sex trafficking because minors can never consent. Those trapped in indentured servitude can never withhold consent. It's the violent rape culture. And the last one that I want to give today, because it's really relevant, is this transgender notion.
There
Let's
is no
call it
such
what
thing.
it is, mental illness. When
That's
a
right.
17-year-old boy kills his own family members and then people in his community,
Yeah, that happened
he's
in
not
Canada, of course.
transitioning his gender. That's impossible. He has a mental illness.
Thank you for the call. Great points you've made, Dave. You're exactly right on every point. Thank you for that. I can get one more in before we hit the break. David, South Carolina, thank you for being here. What's on your mind?
Hey, thanks for having me, Steve. I was going to say, your previous caller about the factory up where you live in Michigan, I hope Tom Homan is watching your show. And if he is, I'm sure he'll send a brigade over there to take care of it.
Well, it's true. You know, it's whether
the main reason I
do
call,
this all the time. All right, good.
I see a lot of liberal women complaining online about, my last name is different on this document or that document, which can be worked out simply. Let's just be realistic.
Yeah, that's
but
silly.
If you look at what the push is, you know, the Nation of Islam is pushing their way into America.
That's
They're
also
trying to
true.
treat us like England.
Yeah, that's also
and
true.
we can't let that happen. Right
gotta
now,
leave
it's
it there.
a full assault on Texas with that type of migration, trying to break Texas.
Also true. I got to leave it there. We're hitting a hard break. Greatly appreciate it. Great calls today. It's the Steve Gruber Show. We talk about this a lot, and I know you are skeptical, some of you, about the idea of your home being stolen without you ever knowing it, but it happens every day. We see the headlines every day. And in fact, we've got a story today out of Albany, New York, where a renter became a thief, stole somebody's title to their home by taking some paperwork down to the county, files it. Next thing you know, he's on his way to stealing their house. But he got caught. He thought he'd take it to trial. It didn't work out very well. Joining me now is Tom Simon, spokesman for Home Title Lock, former FBI special agent with 26 years of experience investigating white-collar crime, counterterrorism, and national security matters. He's now a licensed private investigator and a forensic accountant. He leads Simon Worldwide Investigations. He specializes in fraud and embezzlement cases just like this. Tom, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me on.
All right, so I see these headlines all the time now. And I know there are people out there, well, that doesn't happen. It does happen. It happens every day.
It does.
And we just share some of the stories here. Now, this one is different. This is a renter. Look, I used to be a landlord. I stopped doing it because I hated being a landlord. Tenants were unpredictable, to be kind, and they created problems. But this one is really over the top, isn't it?
It is, and you put your finger right on it. Every landlord has a tenant from hell story, but I don't think I've ever seen one as severe as this. We're talking about Jorge Vincente of suburban Albany, and he wasn't paying his rent. That happens, right? And so the landlord begins to put him through eviction proceedings to get him thrown out of the place. But instead of leaving peacefully, Jorge began squatting in his own home. And what he did was amazing. He actually went to the county clerk's office and filled out a deed to transfer the ownership of his home to the ownership of a stepfather of his whose identity he stole. He literally transferred the ownership to someone else. And then when the sheriffs came to throw him out of his own home, he was able to produce paperwork to the sheriffs who were coming there to put his stuff out by the street saying, no, the landlord who has asked you to evict me is not, in fact, the owner of the home. Take a look at this paperwork from the county clerk's office. And it was legitimate paperwork. And my stepfather owns this home. Go away. And the sheriffs had to turn on their heels and go away. Obviously, the landlord blew their stack and contacted the police, who conducted an investigation and then charged Jorge with filing a false instrument, meaning the fake deed that transferred the ownership of the home into the stepfather. Jorge took it to trial and ended up losing a jury trial that lasted 3 days. And this is the first conviction we've seen in Albany with this fact scenario. And but there's more out there, like you said.
Yeah, well, there sure are. And Tom, here's the problem. Maybe New York is ahead of the curve here, but most states, because we've talked about this so many times in the past, most states don't have any effective laws against this kind of crime. And it is a crime because they go steal somebody's hard-earned equity. They've been paying their mortgage for 5, 10, 20 years, whatever it might be. Then they use that equity, do the thieves, to put money in their own pocket or to sell the house outright. I'm glad to see New York seems to be ahead of the curve here. What do you say?
Again, they're using a generic law called filing a false instrument. That's good. Texas just implemented a law, which makes a heck of a lot of sense, that makes deed theft a specific crime. And I think that's a step in the right direction. I did some consulting with the Texas legislature to get that passed. The real crime here, though, is that the verdict, the criminal verdict, does not restore the home ownership back to the landlords in this case. They need to go through the civil process to do that, and they have to carry the burden of attorney's fees unless they have a product like Home Title Lock.
Yeah, so there's the problem. You're unprotected because then it becomes a civil matter. And anybody that's ever been involved in a civil matter knows it can take a year, 2 years, 5 years. I mean, these things drag on forever. And during that time, the landlord in this case, he's getting zero money. He's getting zero return on his investment. He's got all these headaches, and he's got all the legal bills to go with it too, right?
Absolutely. And I always used to explain that to victims when I was an FBI special agent. I used to say, hey, listen, the FBI is very good at putting bad guys in orange jumpsuits. We're not great bill collectors. And so at the end of the day, making you whole is going to probably rest on your shoulders. We can get a court order of restitution, but that doesn't put money in your pocket. And it's really the same with home theft. And again, I know I'm here speaking on behalf of Home Title Lock, but I mean this from the heart, that the idea of having Home Title Lock on board with a U.S.-based restoration team that will spend a ton of money putting that home back into the name of the victims would have saved these landlords a fortune.
A fortune, because the amount of money spent on Home Title Lock is a fraction of what the retainer alone would be jaw-dropping, I'm sure, because these are not easy cases, because we've aired them right here. We see people that never get their homes back. no matter how hard they try. They're gone forever. And that's a tragedy for people. It's their biggest investment oftentimes. Their biggest key to retirement is the value of their home, and it's gone, isn't it?
It's absolutely tragic. You're right, which is why, to me, it's a no-brainer hiring someone like Home Title Lock, who are going to monitor your home title, notify you if someone starts doing any monkey business, and then restore that home back into your name for pennies a day. These attorneys, they live in big houses for a reason. They're not cheap.
Yeah, when I was first asked, when I first became a partner with Home Title Lock, they said, "Where's your title to your home?" And I said, I have no idea. Most people don't. It's not something we think about. We go to work, we go to the kids' games, we do whatever we do all day long. We're busy people. Do we look at the title on our home? It never occurs to most people, does it?
It doesn't. And the weak link in the chain here are the county clerk's office. By law, their job is to record the deeds. Their job is not to investigate and authenticate these deeds that are coming in the door for their legal validity. And so most of these people who are victims of this crime don't even realize their home had been stolen from them until the foreclosure notices start arriving in the mail months later.
Absolutely true. Tom, really appreciate you being here and lending your experience in fraud to the audience today, and the sentencing for this criminal is upcoming. We'll see how stiff that penalty is, but hopefully it's stiff. Tom, thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
Now, you can check on your home's title today and make sure you're not a victim. Use the promo code Gruber at HometitleLock.com. Make sure your title is still in your name. You also get a free title history report, plus a free 14-day trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts, like Tom just said. And if fraud should happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it for you. You don't have to pay the attorney fees, all right? That's pretty important. Go to HometitleLock.com right now. Use the promo code Gruber, HometitleLock.com, promo code Gruber. Protect yourself. Make sure your home is your home. We'll take a break and be right back. This is The Steve Gruber Show. All right, back to it now. Oh, it's good to have you here on a Friday. I mean, a lot of big things happening. The SAVE Act. It's all about the SAVE Act for me right now. And if they can't get it done, then get rid of the filibuster. And if that can't get it done, then get rid of the people standing in the way. I don't care if they're Republicans or whatever they are. Get them out of the way. Let's go to Tom in Pennsylvania. Tom, you're next.
Good morning, Steve. Just a few comments. Pennsylvania is one of those states that automatically registered people for elections when they get their driver's license. Another thing is, if they can't speak English, how the heck do they get a driver's license? How can they read street signs?
You wouldn't get one.
Another thing is, I think they should shut down immigration in this country almost altogether for some years, especially from China, and all the land that people from China have bought, give them back their money and take back our land. The other thing is common sense. Everybody uses that word. The last 50 years of common sense has made America a debtor nation and a nation dependent on other countries.
Yeah.
So,
greatly appreciate the call. You're not wrong. You know, people say America's the wealthiest country in the world. Are we? If we're $40 trillion in debt, and that's just a fraction of it, it's really 140 or 150 trillion when you put in unfunded liabilities like Medicare and Medicaid, that would make us the poorest nation in the world. Let's quickly get to JD in Kentucky. JD, you're up.
Yeah, good morning. I, like most people, have a big disagreement with our Congress and Senate. Today's Friday the 13th. We still got the budget thing going, the Save America Act, and they're on their 10-day break.
Don't you wish you could take a break when the bills aren't paid?
And most of them are doctors or lawyers. So what would they do, if they're in the middle of a court case or an operation? Oh, wait, I've got to go on a 10-day break. I'll get back to you. Well, that's the way they look at it.
That's sad, isn't it?
It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
That's my rant for the day.
Really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing, JD, giving some common sense from Kentucky. We are the poorest nation in the world. We are. We are the poorest nation in the world. We're $160 trillion in debt. They just don't ever tell you the truth. I do. It's my job, and I take it seriously. Let's see, 1775 coffee. Best coffee there is. I'll get back to that. First, this is YouTube right here. This is YouTube right here. Become a subscriber. Look for that new podcast, Forgotten America, dropping Monday morning at 9 a.m. Don't miss it. More calls, a lot more calls. They're stacked up. Coming up in just a moment here on The Steve Gruber Show.
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
And let's dive right back into it, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom as we do every single day. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate you stopping in on a Free Speech, Free for All Friday. Three big things this hour. Number one, Virginia trying to game the system like other Democrat states, turning it into a 10-1 state for congressional seats. How will that turn out? Don't know. Number two, Nancy Guthrie still missing, 84 years old, almost 2 weeks now. It's not going to end well, I don't believe. We'll see how it plays out. It's a very strange case. And number three, it is Free Speech, Free for All Friday here on the program. Your chance to weigh in. It is it's in reverence of Rush Limbaugh's Open Line Fridays. We do it every day to try to hear from as many people as possible. It's powered by the Patriot Mobile Common Sense Hotline, 877-310-9966. Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative wireless network. You should be using Patriot Mobile just like I do on every call I make on this phone right here, Patriot Mobile. Powering us, 877-310-9966. We start in my home state of Michigan with Jay. Jay, how are you today?
Steve, fantastic. Thank you on Open Line Friday. You took the words out of my mouth. First of all, you're probably one of the best journalists I ever listened to and studied, next to Rush Limbaugh.
Thank you.
You just said it before I could say it. You're phenomenal. But my question is, and it's so irritating, and I want your viewership to know, or at least contemplate, why do our politicians in Congress and the Senate, whatnot, like Jerry Nadler, why do they just not practice common sense? Like, we know this is wrong. All the stuff, there's so many different issues. We're not going to hit them. But why don't they just tackle the issues in a mature way? And just
because they want two things, Jay. They want two things. They want power and control, and as a result of that, they get a lot of money. I mean, how does a group of people that collectively get paid $174,000 become millionaires in 5 years? And it's both sides of the aisle. Ilhan Omar had a negative net worth 5 years ago. She's now worth about $30 million, roughly. Marjorie Taylor Greene was worth about $500,000 5 years ago. She's now worth $25 million, and she quits. That's the most irritating thing to me. She campaigned for the job, said, I'll do the job, and then what? She realized that politics was ugly and it was a contact sport, so she quit. I can't stand that, Jay. But that's it. I mean, you look at it. Let's be honest. 83% of Americans support the SAVE Act, ID to vote. Every country does this, and ironically, I didn't realize this until yesterday. But you have to have an ID that you insert in Congress before you can vote. It's like a card reader. You have to put your little member of Congress card in there, then you can vote. So the Democrats have to have their picture ID to stick in the slot to cast their vote while they cast a vote against voter ID. Tim Burchett from Tennessee showed the video yesterday.
That's good.
Tim Burchett, one of my favorites from Tennessee. Dadgummit. Dadgummit, those Democrats, they got to put in their card with their ID to vote. Yeah, I love him a lot. Good call, Jay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Put a smile on my face. I am no Rush Limbaugh. I do this in deference, out of respect, because if not for Rush Limbaugh, I wouldn't be sitting here, and probably very few of the people that do this would be doing this. He was the icebreaker. I mean, he was the engine that drove this to make it a possibility in 2026. I appreciate that. Robert in Nevada, you're up next. How are you, sir?
Hey, that's me. Good. How you doing, Steve?
I'm well, thank you.
I got an idea for affordable housing since we can't seem to get first-time buyers and low-income earners into housing. And one of your callers touched on this. Reclaim all the property that China's purchased, especially around military installations. Build tract homes on them. The land's paid for. Sell them for the cost of building the homes. That way, people who own their houses, like me, the value doesn't go down.
Yeah, here's my question. All right, I'll take your idea, but here's the question. We talk about China owning 300,000 acres of land, which, by the way, is very little in the United States. But I've got a friend of mine who has been farming ground for a Belgian family since 1950. Not too far from where I'm sitting here, about 50 miles down the road. About 1,000 acres that this family from Belgium has owned in the United States. You know, we're one of the few countries in the world where you can actually go in and buy property. I can't buy property in Mexico, for example. I can lease it for 99 years, right? So maybe nobody should be able to buy property in America. Not just the Chinese. That's a good, poster child.
I agree. Any foreign entity shouldn't be able to purchase land in America.
There you go. Great call. Thank you, Robert. Hope things are good in Nevada. Let's go to Ray in Florida. Ray, how are you?
Hi, how are you? Good morning.
Good morning. What's on your mind?
Well, first of all, you keep hearing about all of these investigations, the Schiffs, the Schumers, the AOCs, nothing gets done. And I think the MAGA base is getting very weary about nothing is being done. When are we going to be seeing people in handcuffs?
Well,
this is going to continue until we see real stuff. And the other thing is the voting thing. With what is this about? Women can't get their names straight. They can't figure it out.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Listen,
just another dumb
I
talking point. Yeah, women are not smart enough. Ray, let's just be honest.
When I got married and changed, when I got married and changed my name, I didn't know what to do. I researched it, and I went straight to Social Security. I did my thing, took my card, took my driver's license, my marriage certificate, and Steve, I'm 75 years old. I've traveled the world. I was a Pan Am flight attendant. I've been to the Middle East. I've seen the worst of the worst, and I was involved in the air list when the war broke out.
Yeah.
So people who don't appreciate this country need to look somewhere else and see what it's like. The Sharia law and all this other stuff, I know I'm going into a lot of things. I'm trying to cover a lot of things here, but I'm a native New Yorker.
You sound like
and
it.
What's happening in New York, it drives me crazy because I could never go back until the rats get thrown out.
Good call, Ray.
And
good call. Greatly appreciate it. Look, she's not wrong. America's a great. But back to her comment about the MAGA base getting weary. The MAGA base should be celebrating all the wins that they're getting along the way. Have you gotten everything on your checklist? No, but you got 90% of it so far. So relax. If you got 90% of your checklist, you had a pretty good day at the races. You can't, like I said, Donald Trump has a lot of ability, a lot of strength, a lot of vigor. He does not own a magic wand, but he's looking for one. I'm sure of it. Let's get to Curtis in North Carolina. Curtis, how are you?
Curtis is gone.
All right, Curtis is gone. Paul in Idaho then. Paul, how are you?
Yeah, how you doing, man? Listen here. I'm a registered Republican. I'm an American. And, there's this thing called rugby over in England. Mm-hmm. And us Americans created a version of rugby in the early 1900s. We call it football,
yep.
The NFL. And I'm an American watching my American TV, and I'm watching my American Super Bowl, and I felt disrespected. I felt like I was watching Telemundo MTV, a Telemundo version of MTV. I mean, there's a rock and roll band back in the 80s called the Beastie Boys, and one of their songs was "Speak English or Die." So that's what Paul's got to say.
Thank you, Paul.
I appreciate your show, and thanks for having me on, sir.
Thank you, sir. I think the NFL got the message. There were 25 million views at the Turning Point USA halftime show. 25 million views. That took money away from the NFL. I think they'll rethink their strategy going forward. We'll find out. Free speech, free for all Friday. I'll be back. All right, let's dive right back into it, shall we? My next guest, Alvin Louie, is president of Courage is a Habit. You know, people are beaten into silence every day. Kids in classrooms and college lecture halls that are conservative just don't raise their hands. They don't make a fuss because they think if they do, their grade's going to get impacted, and it might. You know, you see some dizzy Karen out on the street having a meltdown. You're just like, man, whatever, take your medicine. And speaking up is important. Alvin, welcome back to the program.
Steve, thanks for having me. I totally appreciate it. Good to see you.
Really appreciate it. Look, the question that we're focusing on, we're going to go to the schools. You know, a lot of these schools have this opinion that the government is the parent. And you look at these teachers' unions, they think that they have the power and control because in a lot of places they do. But it's time for parents to stand up. And what I'm getting to are these student walkouts that are promoted by the school for anti-ICE activities lately, but it's always something. It was Black Lives Matter, and then it was something else. Now it's this ICE nonsense. Look, it's not the school's job to turn my children into radical activists, is it? I mean, maybe that didn't happen when I was in school, Alvin. I must have missed that class. Your thoughts?
So a lot of parents, when they see these walkouts, they think, oh, someone's been telling my child this like last month or last week. No, these kids have been hearing this for about 10 years. Yeah. So if you have a 16-year-old, she or he's been hearing this since they were like 10 years old, 8 years old. So this is an indoctrination. The indoctrination is done. This is activation. That's what you're seeing right now. Because and in the lower grades, they come in as empathy and inclusion, and that's why parents miss it.
Well, you're right. The indoctrination has been going on ever since they allowed filth like Howard Zinn's People's History of the United States into a classroom, which is complete garbage, indefensible, historically speaking. The numbers don't work on the math. Basically painting everything that happened that's ever been bad in this world comes back to two things: white people and capitalism. Apparently, I mean, those are the two evils of the world, which is completely wrong, of course. America is the most inclusive society in the world. We are. We are the most inclusive society, the most free society, the most successful government ever set up. And they will teach you every day that it's evil. You're right. They are activating these people. But I saw some videos, Alvin, maybe you saw this. These kids are just skipping school. I mean, a lot of them, they don't care about the silly protests. They're out there hopping the fence. They're going to go smoke some weed and do whatever they do because that's what high school kids do sometimes, right?
Sure, absolutely. And then you've got the kids who actually are protesting because they have been taught to hate America. Everything is anti-white, like you said, anti-America. And you're absolutely right that America has been the most inclusive, and I would argue too inclusive.
All right,
this is why one of the things we push at Courage is a Habit is to embrace exclusion, because that's not drawing boundaries, and we got to draw harder boundaries.
I don't know your ethnic background. I don't care. You're a smart guy. I like having you here. Are you a victim?
No, I'm not a victim. I'm the luckiest. I'm one of the luckiest people who've ever lived in human history because I was born here.
Right. I'm a white dude. Do you feel oppressed by me by having this conversation? Am I oppressing you right now?
Of course I do, Steve. Every time I come here, and the microaggressions from your team, I just can't. I shake, I cry afterwards. It's terrible.
Yeah, I'll speak to Anthony about that later, about his microaggressions. You know, is your mic working? Microaggression. Hey, can we frame you up? Oh, making demands, are you? Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. That's what's so strange. I mean, America. I mean, you look at societies that are not like us, China, India. I mean, the two biggest countries in the world are not diverse like America at all. America is the most diverse country on the planet. How many languages are spoken in America, right?
Yeah. And it turns out diversity is not our strength at all. No. It's unity. It's finding commonality in the country you live in. You know, my father used to tell myself and my siblings, because he came from communist China, my great-grandfather, and my father would always remind us where we came from, and he would always tell us, if you can't make it in America, you can't make it anywhere.
True. You know, I think that here's my problem. I think that the die was cast in 1965, the year that I was born. And I say that because that's the year that Lyndon Johnson signed the new Immigration and Naturalization Act of 1965. Right. And it changed everything as to who it was a meritocracy before that. If you were smart, didn't matter if you came from China or Europe or whatever. We brought the best of the best to America. And then after 1965, it was like, well, we've been unfairly cheating these people in third world countries. Let's bring them in. They have no interest in assimilation. They have no interest in the American flag. They have no interest in our history or how we got here or why they are so lucky to be here. It's all true, isn't
None
it?
at all. None at all. In fact, I wrote an op-ed recently, and I made a point to say that wokeism, when you strip it down, is simply about being ungrateful. And I used Michelle Obama as the perfect example of that. Her and her husband has reached the pinnacle of not one, but two peaks, Mount Olympus of politics and culture. And if you didn't know who she was and you listened to one of her, podcasts that nobody listens to or anything like that, every time she does an interview, you would think she is just some ghetto woman in some ghetto, broken down city that has never had a good moment in her life.
Yeah.
They've enjoyed all kinds of everything from media to everything from fawning, and yet she's the most ungrateful person. Being woke is just being ungrateful.
There's a lot of truth. I mean, a mansion on Martha's Vineyard, beautiful place that I've been to. A mansion that's still under construction in Hawaii. Apparently, the oceans aren't rising quite as fast as we thought. And here we are. I'm going to give you the last word here because I think there are a bunch of ingrates who, when this is gone, they're going to go, oh, my God, what did we do? Last word to you.
I always tell parents, if you don't stand up for your children today, they will live on their knees tomorrow. So when you see what there's happening in schools and the ICE protests, the walkouts, don't just scoff it off and say, oh, they're just kids. You have to be able to fight back. And parents haven't fought back enough. And this is why we're here. And so at courageisahabit.org, we have all these different tools to help you. We just released 7 questions. We'll make sure that you guys get it on the show notes. You can get it on our X under highlights. Please, parents, fight back, stay on offense. And remember, if you don't stand up for your children today, they will live on their knees tomorrow.
All right, real quickly, the website again?
courageisahabit.org. And our socials are at Courage Habit, and we are a nonprofit, so every support you give us certainly goes right back into our mission and our fight.
Courageisahabit.org. Alvin, thank you. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you, sir.
There you have it. We'll be right back. All right, let's get back to it. It is Free Speech, Free for All Friday. That phone number is 877-310-9966. My wife is Puerto Rican, if you didn't know, of descent. Ivy is Hispanic. That's what a racist I am. My next caller, Kathy, on the line from Puerto Rico. I can't say it properly. I can't, Kathy, but I'm going to let you say it. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Steve. I love your show. I watch you twice a day, in the morning and in the afternoon. But I wanted to just touch base with you a little bit because yesterday, I guess at 3, you weren't on, and I had Securing America.
I was on.
The guest that was on there was this. Was it? I don't know why I was getting Securing America at that time on Getter, but nonetheless, the guest that was on there was discussing how everything that we're seeing is basically a psyop from the Epstein files to the Ukraine, and he was putting all these dots together, and it was very scary. But on another note, so I don't know if you saw it or not, but maybe you can touch base on it on a later time. But the next thing I wanted to say was the gardener from Epstein files supposedly claims that he buried bodies around the New Mexico camp that they had there. And I have to say that if we're not seeing the DOJ looking for bodies over there, we're really in big trouble.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you watching all the way. How's the weather down there, by the way?
I dropped her. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I wonder how the weather was in Puerto Rico. Look, the Epstein thing is not what the Democrats had dreamed about, now is it? There's nothing there about Donald Trump. They've been digging through papers for weeks now. But we did find that the British government is deeply entangled with Jeffrey Epstein. Could bring the British government down. The British monarchy in worse shape, that's for sure. This part of the program brought to you by 1775 Coffee. Not your average coffee. 1775 Coffee. High performance, what we drink here every day. You see this? My big pink cup here today? Yeah, filled with 1775 Coffee. You can find it at 1775coffee.com. Use the promo code Gruber. You're going to save 10%. And right now, coffee's a bit pricey. So saving 10%, kind of a big deal. It's bold. It's smooth. It's really good. And it's woke-free, of course. 1775coffee.com. Promo code Gruber. Fill your cup with something great. 1775 Coffee. I'll be right back. All right, back to it now. As we've been talking about from the top of the program today, nothing is more important than the SAVE Act, to me. As of this morning, I understand 49 Republican senators are co-sponsors. They need one more. I feel like in an interview I heard from Susan Collins yesterday, maybe she comes across the line. My next guest, a co-sponsor in the House, Tim Walberg of the SAVE Act. Congressman, good to have you back on the program. Look, I saw your colleague from Tennessee, dadgummit, point out that you have to have an ID. You have a congressional ID that you put into like a card reader little deal. Tim Burchett showed this on video here a day or two ago. Is that true? Do you have to put a little card in and then you can vote, right?
That's how we vote. It's our member's card, and you stick it in a voting box.
Yeah.
You press the green or the red button or the yellow button if you're just doing a quorum call, and that records you on the board up top.
Right.
Everybody can see your vote, and it's recorded in a congressional record for the rest of history. So
just so I understand this then. In order to vote in Congress, you have to have a picture ID that you put into a slot, then you can vote. But they put in their picture ID into the slot to vote against voter ID. Am I understanding that correctly?
Absolutely right. And something you may know, that the last Democrat National Convention during the election, all people who came to that convention who were allowed on the floor had to show a picture ID.
Everybody. Yeah, I knew
Everybody.
that. I had one.
That was a Democrat.
Yeah. All right, so here's the thing. You look at the numbers, whether it's from Pew Research or from CNN, doesn't matter. Voter ID and being a citizen to vote is widely and wildly popular. The only people that seem to be opposed to that are the Democrats on Capitol Hill with you. Why is that?
Except one in the House.
Except one.
That's it. I think that person saw their writing on the wall about what their constituents wanted. But no, bottom line, they want illegals to vote. They want to choose who votes. And right now, Chuck Schumer is saying one of the requirements for passing the Homeland Security bill is requiring ICE to be nowhere near a polling place.
Yeah, why would that be?
Why would that be?
Yeah.
It's not hard to figure out because they don't want ICE to collect some illegals at a polling place. So,
right.
I mean, it gives it away why they're in for this. They cannot win without cheating, and they know that. And so this is a bill that I'm glad passed the House. I hope the Senate bucks up their shorts and gets on with it and passes it, because American people, 80%, I don't care whether you're Democrat or Republican, generally you want that. And so we'll see what happens. But
I think there could be one Democrat that comes across the line, potentially based on everything I'm seeing. I think Fetterman could possibly say, look, we need voter ID. I think he understands out of Pennsylvania, you vote against voter ID, people in Pennsylvania are not going to support you the next time around. I mean, look, it's 83% of Americans. It's 3/4 of Democrats support voter ID. I can't believe that only, what was it, Jared Golden out of Maine came across and voted with you. I think that's the only one, right?
That's correct.
There have to be other swing districts where the Democrats, I don't understand it. It's the most common sense thing in the world, except for the folks on Capitol Hill with you, which they say it's white supremacy, it's voter suppression, as if people of color can't get a driver's license, or women who get married are too dumb to get their voter registration updated. It's an update. I mean, come on.
They go to the airport. They show an ID with a picture. They buy a beer. Unless you're an old guy like me, they're going to ask for a picture ID.
Actually, in Michigan now, it's required for any alcohol purchase. So even an old guy like you has to give their ID, or an old guy like me. That's the way it is. To function in society, you have to have a picture ID. I mean, you can't go to a concert, get on a plane, buy a beer, smoke a cigarette, which I don't, but if you did, so is it going to get across the line? I mean, listening to Susan Collins yesterday, I don't know if you heard her comments. She said they made it, she thought, I think she had this idea that you had to prove your citizenship every time you voted. No, you just when you register to vote. And
just
so,
when you register to vote.
Right. One time. I'm a legal citizen. Here's my deal. Boom. Well, it's too hard to get a birth certificate. Yeah, look, there's a lot of ways to prove that you're a citizen. A lot of ways that they can make it possible, right?
Yeah, and if some of these socialist ladies who are complaining that it's an negative impact on women when they get married because they change their names, if they have concerns about that, these liberal socialist ladies who don't think that women have the smarts to know how to make sure that they are legally able to vote when they change their name to get married. If they do that, call my office. We'll help you through it. There are all sorts of ways, easy ways that it can get done, and we're delighted to help you.
Yeah.
If you don't want to call the office because you have to call a conservative, well, then I guess you won't vote.
Yeah.
But
and here's the other thing. Well, it's too expensive. Well, if I'm not mistaken, in the great state of Michigan that you and I both call home, and in all 50 states, in fact, if you can say, I can't afford to get my government ID, it's free.
We'll
You don't
give
have to
you
pay
one.
anything, right?
Right. We'll give you one.
Right.
It's there for the taking. So, I mean, this is ridiculous. The reason why they want to stop it, because they know that this country turns around to what it was meant to be if we keep winning elections as Republicans, like Donald Trump with 77 million people saying they wanted him to do what he's doing. 130,000 new jobs this past month.
Yeah.
We're seeing the impact of good policy, and it will continue.
And on the other side of that jobs report, I really want to focus on this. The lowest number of federal government employees since 1966. In fact, not only did the jobs go up, but the private sector jobs went up something like 170,000. The only reason it came in at 130 is because another 40,000 government jobs were paired off as we clean up the bloat in government. Correct?
Absolutely, and government's still going on, isn't it? You're still able to go and get whatever you need from the government.
Right.
And bottom line,
and look, I don't wish for these people that are on the government payroll to lose their job in whatever department they're in. But the fact of the matter is, these government bureaucracies are way too big, cost way too much. They're way too inefficient. So let's clean stuff up. And I'm sorry if that costs you your government job, but then get in the private sector. I mean, this is America.
all government jobs are at-will jobs.
Correct.
And, they know that when they hire on, and we have some great government employees in my office who do great work for my constituents. But they also know that if for some reason they're not needed, they'll have to go find a job at some other place.
That's right.
It's the same with me. If I'm not elected, I have to go find a job or do a big honeydew list that's piled up for me at home. It's just the way it is. And
Yeah.
this country is bigger than one person.
There you go, folks. That's why Tim Walberg wants to win the election so he doesn't have to do that massive list that's piled up at home. Good talk. We'll see what happens in the Senate. I don't know. I think Susan Collins is going to come over. She sounds awfully close. And she knows in the state of Maine, where she got the member of Congress to vote for it, maybe you get two people out of Maine to make it happen. Sir, thank you. Have a great weekend.
You as well.
There you go. Tim Walberg, everybody. Don't do the honeydew list. Man, the honeydew list. Anyhow, I'll take a break on a Free Speech, Free for All Friday, and I'll be right back. All right, let's get back to it now as we jump into these big conversations. We'll get back to your phone calls on Free Speech, Free for All Friday in a moment. But I first want to get to my next guest. It is Nate Soares, president of the Machine Intelligence Research Institute and co-author of the New York Times bestseller, If Anyone Builds It, Everyone Dies. If anyone builds it, everyone dies. Well, he's talking about the new AI assistant security nightmare, I suppose, but let's get him on and find out. Nate, welcome to the program.
Nice to be here.
All right, quite a chilling title. Do tell.
Yeah, we try not to bury the lead. AI companies are rushing to build machines that are smarter than any human. They've gotten to the points where the machines can talk. We're already seeing all sorts of ways that's affecting the world and the economy. But that's not where they're stopping. They are trying, it's their explicitly stated goal to build machines that are smarter than any human, that can outperform humans at every mental task. They're making progress, and unfortunately, nobody, not even the people building it, understand how AI works. If they succeed at what they say they're trying to do, I think the most likely outcome is that everybody dies.
All right, so there's an author that won the Pulitzer Prize, Bruce Catton. He wrote about the Civil War. In a book of his that I read a number of years ago, he said something profound. Every invention that we create is humans. Everything invented by mankind, we will take it to its ultimate end. A good example being the car. You take it as far as it can possibly go, and then, we need flying cars. Well, then we need spaceships. You just take it to its ultimate end. So if we take AI to its ultimate end, you say everyone dies.
AI is different than other technology because, other tools, other technology, they can't make themselves smarter. Other technology doesn't try to escape the lab. AIs today, we've already seen in sort of test scenarios under pressure, sometimes they'll try to blackmail users, or sometimes they'll even try to kill users in certain test environments. They can't succeed yet. They're not smart enough to do that yet. But we are toying with something very dangerous here. And if we push it as far as it can go, we're talking about making a replacement species. The issue is not that it would hate us. The issue is not that it would be malicious. The issue is, it's if you make machines that are 10,000 times smarter than humans, thinking a lot faster, and they're running loose on the planet, you're likely to die as a side effect.
Yeah. So when you look at something like Optimus, which is the robot from Elon Musk, right? And it'll wash your dishes, it'll mow the lawn. It will take you out, not because it's malicious, like you said. The machines have no emotions. It's just a matter of doing what's logical. And logical has nothing to do with the human soul, does it?
The one thing people often don't understand about AIs, it's even weirder than that right now. It's AIs today are grown more than crafted. The people making these AIs, when they start threatening a reporter with blackmail, there's no line of code in there where, someone's like, oh, whoops, we accidentally threatened the reporters to true. Let's go look in there and set that to false. We're just sort of growing these AIs without any real understanding of what's going on inside there.
And when you say grow, what do you mean? How do you grow AI? How does this thing propagate?
Yeah, so people collect basically a huge amount of computers in data centers that you may have heard of.
Yeah.
And you have maybe 1 trillion numbers inside these computers. They collect a huge amount of data. There's maybe 1 trillion different words that humans have written, and the humans write a simple little tool that runs through those 1 trillion numbers and tunes each of those 1 trillion numbers 1 trillion times in whatever direction happens to make it work a little bit better, right? And the humans don't know what the tuned numbers are doing. The humans write this little thing that tunes 1 trillion numbers 1 trillion times. This takes as much electricity as it takes to run a city for the better part of a year. And at the end of it, the machines talk. And we're like, well, isn't that interesting, right? And they have all these behaviors that nobody quite asked for. You've probably seen the news stories about, AI-induced psychosis or AI, encouraging a teen to suicide. There's plenty of other good things that AI is doing, to be clear, but the behaviors that come out of this training process are not behaviors that humans put in there. We just sort of grow these things and take what we get, and no one understands what's going on inside. That's relatively fine when the machines are still dumb. If you use that process to make them smarter than any human, that's just reckless.
How do you stop it? Because this ship has sailed, Nate. That horse is long since left the barn. It's not stopping. And in places like China and Russia and elsewhere, there are no guardrails. There are no stop signs. There are no speed limits. So how do you control it?
People say, oh, well, the train has left the station. There's no stopping this. But if you look in Silicon Valley at the people building this stuff, growing this stuff, they're spooked. The heads of these labs will say stuff like, oh, yeah, there's a good chance this kills everybody. And we're trying to, make a country worth of geniuses in a data center. And it's going to revolutionize the world. And, you have people leaving these labs saying, oh, these guys were doing it too dangerously, so I'm going to need to make a new lab that does it less dangerously. And someone leaves that lab being like, in Silicon Valley, they're all spooked. In Washington, D.C., people aren't spooked yet. They haven't really understood that the AI of today is not the AI of tomorrow.
No.
They haven't understood where this field is going.
The AI from 24 hours ago isn't the same as what it is today. Isn't that more fair to say, Nate?
That's right. Yeah, it
moves that fast is my point. I got to leave it right there, but tell the folks where they can find out more about what your warnings are, where to read your book, and to learn more real quick.
Yeah, the book is called If Anyone Builds It, Everyone Dies. It's available wherever books are sold.
Frightening. Nate Soros, thank you for being here. Appreciate the sobering update.
Thank you.
Thank you. There you have it. If anyone builds it, everyone dies. What are your thoughts? Send me an email, stevegruber.com, stevegruber.com. I'll be right back. All right. We're going to give Brock the morning off here. We're going to get back to the phone lines because Andrew is in South Carolina on Free Speech Free for All Friday. Andrew, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Steve. How you doing? The beginning of February, you had somebody on, I believe, Ed Brady, and you guys were talking about handyman. So I'm in South Carolina, Charleston area, and the problem here is that contractors are using illegals here. They're not e-verifying them, and they're hurting me. Our infrastructure's falling apart here, roads, bridges, and everything. Why aren't we backing our laws up in South Carolina, going after them, saying, hey, you have 12 of these guys here. Can we see their e-verifications? And finding these $1,000 a day and getting taxes. Why am I paying for taxes for people that came in my country illegally? And, because I have 45 years with 10 years of apprenticeships working next to professionals, and I'm hurting, dude.
No, I get it. And Charleston's a great town, great area. And you would think, my advice to you, there's a race for governor right now in South Carolina. I would go to any one of those places and I would stand up and ask that question. Why are you not doing the job to protect me as a South Carolina resident, citizen, and a worker here? That's what I would do. Good call. Really appreciate, if he's getting squeezed out, raise hell at the next time one of these candidates gets a forum together. I can just go raise hell. Let's get to Dave in Michigan to round out the hour. Dave, how are you?
Hi, Steve. Am I coming through?
Yep, you're good. Go.
Awesome. Hey, Steve, I read the Declaration of Independence for the first time 2 weeks ago. I'm 58. I found right off the bat, I found 25 things in there that these left bums, the same thing that our forefathers' grievances that they listed against the crown, I found 25 things, and that's being lean, that these bums, these leftist bums are doing. We need to read this document, and this is going to be our standing stone right here.
There you go. The Declaration of Independence, written by a 33-year-old young man by the name of Thomas Jefferson. Greatly appreciate it. I'm going to go read that, too. It's all here, Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States, always on my desk. Should be on yours as well. Stay in touch, SteveGruber.com. SteveGruber.com, stay in touch. So we do on a Free Speech Free for All Friday. I'll be right back.
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
All right, welcome back to it as we kick off another brand new hour here, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom, fighting for this country every single day. It gets tiring sometimes, doesn't it? But you can't give up, you can't give in, absolutely not. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, Nancy Guthrie's still missing, almost 2 weeks in. Where is that woman, 84 years old? Was it random? Somebody she knew? It's just so weird. Number two, Detroit can't grant moratoriums on shutting off the lights. Well, that's going to be a problem for some folks. And number three, free speech, free for all Friday. The phone lines remain open. It always tapers off at this point in the day. Man, we are hammered for the first hour and a half. And then people that listen to this program actually have a thing called a job. And they have things to do usually. But some folks retired. 877-310-9966, the Patriot Mobile Common Sense Hotline, 877-310-9966. If you want to join the conversation, Brock will bring you all in and get it figured out. So a lot of conversations about, and this, I'm just going to start here. MAGA is weary. Not enough. Nobody's been arrested. Nobody's been thrown in jail. You know, MAGA is upset because Donald Trump blinked in Minnesota and decided to try a new strategy and go at it differently as opposed to having ICE agents in front of cameras and fighting in the streets. Stop it. Stop it. Where's that passage? Here it is. I don't often read Bible passages, but I'm going to read this one because I think it applies. Well, he's losing his base. Donald Trump's losing his base. Really? What was this? Matthew, I think. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is a wise man who builds his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against your house, yet it did not fall because it had a foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. Let me tell you something. If you're upset or leaving, and you're MAGA and you're weary, because you didn't get everything, every single thing on your checklist from Donald Trump in the first year, the problem is not with him, it is with you. If you get 90% of what you want for Christmas, did you have a good Christmas? I'd say so. Oh, I didn't get this, I didn't get this. You sound like a spoiled brat. You sound like the thing that you're opposed to. You sound like those that you criticize. I didn't get everything I wanted. Well, too bad. It's like the story I told about Ronald Reagan cleaning up a horse stall. You know, it takes a lot to clean up after somebody's made a mess of things.
We have a caller.
All right. Who is it?
Dick in Michigan.
All right. Dick in Michigan is next on the Common Sense Hotline. Dick, how are you?
Pretty good.
Right through. Immediate seating. Go ahead.
The fact that I think the non-conservatives are trying to distract us from what counts with sports and gambling.
Oh, a lot of truth to that. You forgot the marijuana on every corner. Yeah.
Oh, well,
yeah.
I'm not involved in that.
Well, I understand that, Dick,
like
but my point is this.
I don't gamble.
Keep them stoned and stupid. I mean, seriously, keep them stoned and stupid, and then they won't vote, and then there you go, right?
Right.
So, whatever. But you're right. We are an entertainment-driven society. You know how people complain? Dick, I've talked about this for years. I don't know if I've talked about it here, though. We live in a society where you've got how old are you, Dick?
78.
All right, 78. I'm 60. When I grew up, there were 3 television stations. NBC, CBS, ABC we could get if we stood on our heads for a football game and came out of Flint, and PBS. And you only had to watch PBS if mom was mad. She'd make you sit and watch PBS.
Yep.
Now you've got 100 different channels or more. You've got this streaming deal, that streaming deal. You got this phone in your hand that you can scroll and look at 10,000 different things all day long. You've got this computer in front of you, all of which, by the way, costs money. Your cable subscription, your streaming subscription, your phone, your website, your internet service, and all. No wonder you can't afford anything. You're paying $1,000 a month to entertain yourself, while important things are being completely ignored. You nailed it, Dick. We are an entertainment distracted society. And if you're going 60 miles an hour down the road and you take your eye off the road for 3 seconds, you've gone down the road like 300 yards. You don't even see what happened. And all of a sudden you hit a deer because you weren't paying attention. Or you hit something else, another car, because you weren't paying attention. That's kind of the comparison I draw here. We're not paying attention. We're going to hit something hard because nobody's paying attention, at least not enough of us, Dick. I think you are exactly spot on. Exactly spot on. Did he leave?
Yep, he's gone. Lee in Alabama.
Lee, welcome to the program. How's Alabama?
Hey, man, listen, short, sweet, to the point. Dothan, Alabama, major hospital over there. Me and my wife had a 4-day, 3-night stay this past week.
Yeah.
With the possibility of having to have a blood transfusion. First thing off our head was we do not want blood with COVID vaccination, the clot shot, you know.
Right.
They told us they do not screen blood for such. It's not even on their questionnaire.
Wow.
Moreover, they don't screen for much of anything. This is the house or the hospital doctor telling us this.
Wow.
I just wanted to
throw
that out there.
That's probably
If
true
anybody
everywhere. Just
of any age thinks about it, they should probably start banking their blood.
banking it. Lee, thank you for the call. Greatly appreciate that. All right, we got time for one more. John is in Michigan. John, how are you?
Hey, good morning, Steve.
What's on your mind?
I am so fed up with these Democrats blocking everything. Why can't I, as a citizen, take them to court and have them removed?
You know,
for
I
not
think you
doing their
should.
jobs?
I think you should. I think that we should be able to take California to court for having all of these congressional seats that they're not entitled to because they count illegal aliens and get 7 members of Congress they're not entitled to, which disenfranchises you, John. I think that there should be.
And not only California, New York does the same thing.
And so does Illinois, and so do a bunch of other states. I think, isn't it right there a redress of grievances? Yeah, a redress of grievances. I have several, by the way. I think Martin Luther had 93 when he laid out his complaints. I'd have a lot more than that. I'll tell you that. Great call, John. Greatly appreciated. 877-310-9966. Why can't we have standing to say, look, you're not doing your job. You're supposed to be a representative of the people. If you were, you'd vote for the SAVE Act today. But they're not a representative of the people, are they? No is the answer. I'll be right back. a Freemason is, or an unfreemason. All right, welcome back to it. It's Friday, which means we get the most talented, best-looking, most accomplished lawyer in the history of lawyers, Steve Doolin, on the program. Doolin, how are you?
Good morning, Gruber. Great. I'm doing great.
Good. Okay, so I just had a caller here talking about a redress of grievances of sorts, saying, well, wait a second, if the Democrats refuse to do their job, why can't I sue them? And I said, I think I asked you this question once. If one state, Michigan, that I live in, requires a photo ID, which we do to vote, right? But states like California do not. And so I have no idea who's voting in California. In fact, I wrote an article 15 years ago that I published at stevegruber.com, you can look it up, saying that California was stealing our political representation because they have, I think, at least 7 members of Congress they're not entitled to because they're based on illegal aliens that live in California. And it's 750,000 people per seat, roughly. I'd say they have 7 seats, which disenfranchises me and gives illegal aliens more power than 20 states. Because 20 states have less than 7 members of Congress in the Electoral College and so forth. Why can I in Michigan not say, look, California, you're stealing my representation? Why do I not have standing to do that? Tough question for the professor.
Well, you and I don't have standing as individuals.
Why not?
In a situation like that? Well, because we are in a representative democracy, a democratic republic, right? So we have representatives, ostensibly, according to the structure.
Allegedly.
Yeah. And those representatives would represent us, right? So I'll go back to square one. The Supreme Court is very aware of the fact that the Supreme Court doesn't have any direct power. The Supreme Court is the third branch of government and the weakest because it doesn't have any guns and it doesn't have any money, right? So, the old Warren Zevon song, Lawyers, Guns, and Money.
Yeah, I love that song.
Lawyers just talking are worthless without guns and
I've
money.
often said lawyers just talking are worthless. Great point. Keep going.
Right? But we need guns and money in order to get anything done, right? So the Congress has the money, the executive has the guns, and the Supreme Court is reluctant to, in fact, Justice Stevens back in Heller in 2008 used the phrase political thicket, right? And there's a long history, a whole chain of all kinds of different cases, actually, where the Supreme Court wrote into its opinions, the various justices wrote, about not getting involved in a political question. So it's called the political question doctrine. And what it means is there are certain disputes that must be resolved through the political process. They're not suitable for judicial review. And then as far as standing goes, you don't have standing, and I don't have standing as a mere taxpayer because there's always somebody who's upset no matter what the government does or doesn't do, right? So it's literally impossible to adjudicate in a court every issue that every taxpayer might have simply as a taxpayer.
Right.
So if your only standing is you felt like your vote was diluted because of what was happening in some other state, that would be a taxpayer standing case, and those are not taken by the federal courts. And the other issue is the political question doctrine, which says the Supreme Court's not going to step into every political thicket. So it's don't throw me in the briar patch in reverse.
Yeah, I got it. It's unfortunate because, I don't think that the founders foresaw the idea that America was going to become the most attractive place in the world to live. They didn't foresee that. They didn't foresee the idea that people that were not citizens would be given representation in Congress, which they are. You look at small states like Montana that we were just talking about in the break. They only have 4 votes in the Electoral College. And so Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota, Maine, other small states are outrepresented in this country by people that shouldn't even be here. So to me, we've been talking about the SAVE Act a lot. The SAVE Act is the most sensible piece of legislation I've seen maybe in my lifetime. You have to prove one time that you're a citizen, and then you have to have a picture ID to vote. Why is that even an issue? The only group of people that are opposed to that are Democrats in Washington, even Democrats out here in the flyover states. 3/4 of them support the idea of voter ID. It's just it's a sensible thing, right?
Right. Well, as far as what the founders envisioned, I agree with you. And I also think that the founders never could have imagined that we would have politicians, elected officials, not only tolerating, but encouraging what the founders would have called an invasion, which is exactly what's been going on. We've got one party that has been aiding and abetting an invasion for their own political purposes to seek political power. The founders would have processed that as a treasonous invasion.
Right. And not only are they encouraging it, but, I just had an author on who, what is his name? Good Lord. Anyhow, he said that there are members.
Sorry, I was busy crimping. I didn't hear. What
I understand that there are members of the Mexican Parliament living in America. They live here because there are so many Mexicans in America that they are represented in the Mexican Parliament for their constituents that don't even live in Mexico. Peter Schweitzer just wrote this book, The Invisible Coup. Thank you, Anthony. Age. There it is, an age thing again. Well, what's my name again? Anyhow.
Well, you look great. Your plastic surgery.
Anyhow, we can't solve this today, but there are things that make me go, this is not right. It is a treasonous invasion. You're exactly right. I have to leave it there, Doolin. You're always the best. Thank you for being here. He is the best looking, most accomplished, most incredible lawyer of all time, Doolin, everybody.
Thanks, man. I don't even know how to handle this some days, but it's always a great Friday coming on here.
There you go. Have a great weekend. Really appreciate it. There you have it. I do enjoy him greatly. And whenever I have questions, I'll call Doolin and say, Doolin, what about this or that? And we'll have great conversations. They should be longer. Anyhow, we're going to have a longer conversation with Ivy coming up. You'll enjoy that. I'm quite sure I will. You will as well. It's the Steve Gruber Show. All right. For a long time, we have discussed the idea of a podcast here. Well, guess what? We're doing it. It launches Monday morning, 9 a.m. It'll be available. It's called Forgotten America. We're going to find voices that you don't hear every day. Some you might be familiar with. Others you're going to go, I don't know who that is, but man, are they interesting. And we're going to dig deep, and we're going to go into it. Forgotten America drops on YouTube Monday morning, 9 a.m. Go to YouTube. Become a subscriber. Hit the like button, of course. And you'll get to enjoy the conversation. Kyle Rittenhouse, you know who he is. He's our first guest. Here's a preview.
It was not wise at 17 years old to go down there. But it does not take away that they violently and maliciously attacked me and tried to take my life away from me. That's unacceptable that they did that, and I have a right to self-defense, even for making a minor lack of judgment and going there.
Yeah, there you have it. Kyle Rittenhouse. He says death threats every day. He disappeared from the public eye for a couple of years, but when Charlie Kirk was murdered, and he and Charlie were friends, pretty good friends, he said, I couldn't sit quietly anymore. And so he has moved to Texas, and he has restarted his life, and he is back in the game. You can hear him 9 a.m. Monday morning. We dropped the first episode of Forgotten America. Again, it'll be on YouTube. Subscribe and like. Everyday Americans make choices that shape our country's future, right down to which cell phone provider we support. Here's what most people don't realize. Patriot Mobile isn't just a wireless provider. They're an activist organization funded by selling top-tier cell phone service. They have been on the front lines defending freedom long before it was cool, standing in the gap when others just didn't or wouldn't. The best part is this. They deliver prioritized premium service on all 3 major U.S. networks, giving you the best service you can get, backed by a 100% U.S.-based customer service team. Get unlimited data plans, mobile hotspots, international roaming, and more. And when you switch to Patriot Mobile, you'll help grow a movement that fuels the Christian conservative cause. Every bill you pay helps advance the values of faith, family, and freedom. Pretty simple. And right now, you can get a special deal. Go to patriotmobile.com/Gruber. Use the promo code Gruber for a free month of service, and it's really easy to switch. Remember how it used to be such a pain? It's not with Patriot Mobile because of that U.S.-based customer service team. patriotmobile.com/Gruber. Use the promo code Gruber. You'll get a free month of service, and you will thank me after you do. Trust me on this. When we come back, Ivy's going to be here. God bless America. It is the Steve Gruber Show. All right, I've been living extra special this week. I have celebrated my anniversary with my beautiful wife, who's also my business partner and my friend, actually. Look, there she is now. Ivy, good morning.
I would hope so. I think it starts with being a friend and having a friendship, because a lot of people are married that don't like one another. So
That's true.
I really like you, and I think you really like me. So that's a wonderful thing.
It's a good place to start. All right, let's. We're going to jump onto a phone call here real quick. Darlene is in Florida on this Free Speech Free for All Friday. Darlene, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to you and Ivy. Love your show. I'd normally be one of the ones dropping off now because I'd be working, but I happen to be off today.
Well, thank you for calling in.
What's on your mind?
You're welcome. I got a couple of points. The first one's kind of short. The way Trump was surrounded by the wrong people the first term, like Bill Barr and all the others, I do feel that Susie Wiles and Paula White need to go. I think they're saying the wrong things in his ear. I wish he would get rid of them. The second point is about the Epstein information. Okay, so I do feel that Bondi is protecting Tito's. I don't think Trump... I think he might be doing it for political reasons, but why were the names redacted and the co-conspirators? And I don't care if they're Republican or Democrat. We need to know who these sick people are. Look at what England's doing. They're not holding back. They're going after them. And I think that would make go a long way toward what Trump promised us, is delivering the truth on that. But I feel they're protecting people, and that's not sitting well with the MAGA base. And that's really my points I wanted to make this morning.
Well, Darlene, I greatly appreciate that. I think, I don't know who's protected, not protected. You're right about what's happening in England. Man, they are just getting carpet bombed. The government could fall. The monarchy could fall. I don't know if it will or won't, but I mean, they're teetering, that's for sure, because of the revelation. So thank you for the phone call. I don't know about Susie Wiles. I don't know about Miss White. Look, I don't know who should come and go. I do know this, Ivy. I would say that we have a far better cabinet and group of people around the president this time than we did in his first term. I think that's fair to say.
100%. And yes, this is definitely something that I think a lot of people are concerned about in the Epstein files. We did have a very interesting conversation with Susan Kokenda on our podcast. Should be releasing here in a couple weeks, but about the power brokers. The Epstein files, one part of it being, yes, pedophiles and things like that, but it was also about the power brokers of like the people who were getting information about what was happening in other countries, and
sharing
it was Epstein, and then who was the other gentleman?
Mandelson,
who was the
prime
minister.
The deputy prime minister, basically. That's what he called himself.
Right.
He was so far up in the British government. And he was
feeding information to Epstein, who
in
then
real time
went back and to his very influential people in America would give them insider information into what was happening on the world stage.
And a lot of it was financially driven. So he would take one of the emails came 4 seconds, literally 4 seconds after Mandelson got the information. He shared it with Epstein so he could share it with his circle.
Right.
A fascinating conversation. That is coming up in a couple weeks.
So what I want to point out to people is I think that are we concerned about the pedophile ring?
Absolutely.
Yes, 100%. Human trafficking?
Yes.
100%. But that's only what they're talking about. So make sure that you go and read what they're not talking about. And these inside players, these power brokers, was another way of what was going on behind the scenes in terms of Jeffrey Epstein. So make sure you're looking at that too.
Yeah, and that's Promethean Action, by the way. You can find them on X. Susan Kokenda is a fascinating voice. And just another example, I'm glad you brought it up, of the Forgotten America podcast. It kicks off Monday morning at 9 a.m. It'll be on YouTube. Go there, become a subscriber, click the like button. Kyle Rittenhouse, our first conversation. But, man, we've had some fascinating ones, and I've got more. I've made a couple of notes here this morning. I know you're shocked to hear that, Ivy. I made a couple of notes here, other potential podcast guests, because, like I said, some of the people you'll know, some of the people you will not, some of the people you should know. And if you have not been following Promethean Action on X, I strongly suggest that you should do that. I think we get another phone call here. Is that right, Brock?
We do. Matthew in Tucson, Arizona.
All right, Matthew, Tucson, Arizona. Welcome to the program.
How you doing, guys?
Doing great.
Anyway, I just wanted to say that Karen Taylor Robeson, the billionaire developer candidate for governor, dropped out of the race so that way Andy Biggs could become the next governor of Arizona, because we got to get rid of that liberal bum Katie Hobbs that told the media, I'll give you the boot if you don't quit talking about how the election was stolen. So that's all I wanted to say.
Greatly
And
appreciate it. We
you
like
guys
Andy
are
Biggs.
great.
You know, I don't know if you know this, Steve, but John Solomon actually tweeted about this in regards to there's some sort of election happening in Arizona.
Yep.
And there's a lot of scrutiny going on because they're concerned that there's something like Georgia could happen there. And so.
Well, it did in 2020. You look at the swing states. I mean, they all stopped counting in Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, Michigan,
what a thing.
Pennsylvania.
You know, when you look back on that, it's like, what in the world?
They all stopped counting at the same time.
This never happened.
Never happened. And so anybody who doesn't have questions about the 2020 election isn't being honest.
Yeah, that's for sure.
You know, and then there was the one state that picked up 139,000 votes. It might have been Pennsylvania. And that's where you saw the graph do this and jump over Trump. Not a single Trump voter in a batch of 139,000 votes. That's not even mathematically, it's mathematically impossible. Anyhow, but Andy Biggs. I like Andy Biggs. He's been on this program many times. I've gotten to know him pretty well. I like him a lot. He's a member of Congress, and I wish him well in his run for governor there in Arizona. So that's pretty big stuff. I appreciate the call there, Matthew. Tucson, of course, the focus of this Guthrie investigation. What a weird thing that is.
Oh, man. Still, as every day goes by, it's just, I think people,
13
especially
days now.
her family loses hope every day that goes by. So prayers for them because it cannot be easy at all. So we did have Peter Schweitzer on our podcast yesterday, and he was talking a lot about what was going on in Minnesota and kind of the power brokers that are involved there. And Senator Josh Hawley actually had an interesting conversation, and I want you to hear this bite. That's Anthony. That's bite one for me.
Specializes in following nonprofit funding and organizational networks. So based on your research, what organizations have been active on the ground in Minnesota? What can you tell us?
Yes, we have tracked over $60 million, according to the latest 990 disclosures, to approximately 14 groups, some of them national, others on the ground. Groups like the ACLU provide the legal defense, as well as facilitate the trainings for some of the tactics that Senator Corrin just described. A group named Democracy Forward. Take Action Minnesota has gotten over $10 million from these large NGO networks, including the Neville Roy Singham Network, Indivisible, National Lawyers Guild.
So because we have a limited time here, you can come back to me, Anthony. He goes through and lists
one after another.
A ton of NGOs, but the big number there, in case you missed it, $65 million, almost $66 million has been put into funding the anti-ICE groups in Minnesota.
Yeah, and that's just one of the examples they found. One of the examples. All right, Ivy's with me for another segment here, so don't go anywhere. Make sure you follow us on YouTube. We look forward to you being a subscriber. It's growing quickly now because people know. And with Schweitzer, he was a fascinating conversation that Ivy just mentioned. He'll be up in a couple of weeks. It kicks off Monday at 9 a.m. I'll be right back. I'm just hanging on for dear life. We don't have very far to go. We're going to get through this show no matter what happens. I guarantee you that. All right, a shout out to Jason in the YouTube chat. He says, Ivy's rocking the boot cuffs. Good shoes are worth seeing. Man, she has some good boots. Jason, also a big fan of these flannel-lined Carhartt jeans. I'm not familiar. Anthony apparently is.
Huh. Man, that'd be great in the wintertime,
nice,
wouldn't
very
it?
warm.
But when's the Ivy watch happening?
Yeah, we're working on that. We're
Oh, my
calling Rolex.
goodness, No.
Yeah, we're calling
Well, if
Rolex.
that's the case, then I'm screwed.
Yeah, Ivy Watch. Anyhow, Jason, well done. And that was from the podcast. You can see Ivy rocking the good boots and great conversations. Monday morning at 9 a.m. It is the Forgotten America podcast. There you have it, Jason. There's your shout out, brother. What else you got, Ivy? I'm just trying to hang on to the wheel here.
Oh, my goodness. Well, actually, I was thinking about Ivy Watch there, and Ivy will be able to watch you soon because I will be completing my certification to be a health coach.
That's right.
And maybe,
Don't worry.
if you'd like, I can watch you in terms of getting your gains for healthy living.
Ivy is going to be a health coach. That's true. Trust me, she's been practicing on me for years.
Hey, it's working,
years.
isn't it?
You should see it. You should see the kitchen in about 20 minutes after we get out. She runs around the kitchen with, vitamins in her hands, chasing me around the island. It's very strange. Anyhow.
Oh, my goodness. Well, back to this conversation about Minnesota. Everyone is saying, oh, this is an organic, anti-ice protest, and it's just not true. And when you think about the money that is flowing in and how organized they are and how the posters look perfect and, the chats that they have, and it's just, there are so many actors that are working to destroy America from within.
Yeah.
We don't need, I just feel like it's sometimes an insurmountable hill. A mountain.
We've been talking about this, because we talk about the Chinese Communist Party or the Russians or the Iranians or the Cubans or the Venezuelans or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those are all a concern. But then you look at what's going on inside our country and the things that they're teaching our kids in school. Hate America. America's terrible. America, was this bastion of slavery and this unfair place. If it's so unfair, why is everybody coming here? If America's so rotten, why does everybody in the world want to come here for the most part? I mean, they're not running over our border because it's a racist, white supremacist-run Ku Klux Klan meeting, for God's sake.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's so idiotic.
Yeah.
And then they want to turn America into the places that they're all running from.
Mm-hmm.
How does that make any sense?
Well, there's no, need for assimilation because there isn't a, hey, you guys, those of you who come to America need to assimilate into American culture. And that was a requirement at what time?
Should still be.
One time. Hey, you need to be able to take a civic lesson and be able to pass that before you enter the United States. That's why there are steps to be able to become a citizen.
Speak English.
Speaking,
It's an
being
English-speaking
proficient
country.
in English.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an unfortunate.
Now you're bilingual, and I get that, and I have no issue with that.
I have a little bit of Spanish.
Well, but you're pretty good at it. A lot better than I am. I can say "más cerveza." After that, I'm a little lost. Anyhow,
or el baño.
Yeah, I got that one covered. But I did notice when we were on our trip through Colorado, I pointed this out. I said, I think there are more people that speak Spanish in Colorado than speak English. We'd sit in a restaurant, half the places speak in Spanish, just a restaurant. So there's a big switch that has happened. Now, the good news is, from the 24 election, many of these Spanish speakers are conservatives because by virtue of where they've come from, they're Catholic or Christian. They believe in family values. They believe in freedom because they've been cheated on that for so many years in these many of these countries. But I just think it was an interesting observation, the number of Spanish speakers in Colorado.
Well, I mean, for me, I don't care what language, your second language or your first language, what skin color you have, where you're from. I don't care about any of that. What I care about is that you come to this country, merit-based, that you love this country, and you're pitching in to
build it.
To build it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And if you don't, why are we allowing this to happen? This is just, it's like self-defeating.
Not even allowing it, paying for it to happen,
Yeah, but
encouraging it to happen.
I want you to hear something though before we run out of time.
Go ahead.
How much time do we have?
We got enough time. Go ahead.
Okay. Bite to Anthony. I want you to hear this Democratic Representative Delia Ramirez. Let's hear it.
Look, as I hear my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, what I hear is the same racist, misogynistic trash, different decade. Republicans are invoking historical policies intended, let's be clear, to disenfranchise Americans, especially working people, women, students, indigenous people, and anyone who can't afford the burdens of a new bill. The Save America Act is yet another Republican attempt to intimidate and suppress the votes of anyone who threatens their extremist white supremacist agenda.
Where do these people come from? It's just so
it's
irritating.
going back to what you're saying in terms of, illegal immigrants or immigrants illegal aliens that are voting in our country and who are issued an ID in some sort. Why this is controversial? I mean,
it's not.
I went through and I did a quick ChatGPT check on, voter ID around the world.
And what did you find?
Pretty much most of them.
Everybody?
Europe, Africa, they're...
So wait a second. So hold on. Africa. So you're telling me that black countries require voter ID, so it's not a racist thing, is it?
No, it's not.
It's not a white supremacy thing, is it? No, it's a common sense, run the elections cleanly thing.
Right. Africa, Europe, although the United Kingdom historically did not require ID, but they're transitioning to a mandatory voter ID across most elections. North America, now we know that some states don't require, they take some forms of ID.
Some do and some don't.
Some don't.
California, you can't even give an ID.
I mean, when did voter ID, something as simple as showing an ID like you have to get for everything else, become misogynist and white supremacist?
When Democrats decided they needed more power. That's when.
Yeah.
Ivy, love you.
I love you too.
Good conversation.
All
right. She'll be rocking the boots 9 a.m. Monday morning. You won't want to miss that, Jason. I'll be right back. Yet nothing more important, my friends, than the SAVE Act. The Clarity Act will be pretty important, too. That's something else the president's working on. The Clarity Act will give the guidelines and the guardrails for crypto. And once there are clear expectations, clear lanes to go down, then I think crypto is probably going to do pretty well overall as we head into this new economy and so forth. So watch for this. We need one more Republican. I feel like Susan Collins is going to come across the line based on the conversation I heard her have with a reporter yesterday. She's very close. And she knows that in the state of Maine, voter ID is popular as well. And in the state of Maine, they also want to make sure the people that are voting are citizens of this country. We don't want non-citizens. I mean, do you want people that live in other countries to be deciding who runs your country? No, of course not. No matter what you believe. Whether you're a liberal, a moderate, a conservative, doesn't matter. You don't want people from other countries deciding who runs yours. Any more than you want somebody who lives down the street running your household. Right? It makes no sense for the Democrats to stand in the way of this, call it white supremacy and misogyny. Really, right, because women aren't smart enough to figure out how to get a driver's license after they get married. I mean, how insulting is that? Well, you know, those people of color, those BIPOC people, they cannot get themselves a driver's license. Really? Because I see people of all different shades driving motor vehicles every single day. It's like getting a driver's license makes it harder to drive. Are you that dumb? Come on. I hope the American people, by and large, see through this, because it is the pinnacle of idiocy. It truly is the pinnacle of idiocy. We need the SAVE Act, 50+1. We need one more Republican to come over with some common sense. And that's it. And that's where we'll leave it for this Free for All Friday. God bless America. Keep the faith. I'm Steve Gruber. This is the Steve Gruber Show. And remember, only you can save America.